It's kind of wild to think about, but our entire world, the one we're living in right now, is basically built on one single invention. I mean, just look around. You're surrounded by printed words on your screen, in books, on signs. We are swimming in a sea of information. But how did we get here? Well, it all started with a revolution.
Seriously, just stop and think about that for a second. Imagine if the only way you could read anything was if you knew a millionaire who let you into their private library. For most of human history, that wasn't some dystopian fantasy. That was just reality. Knowledge was a luxury item, basically for the 1%.
So how did a book even get made back then? Well, this is it. This wasn't a factory assembly line, oh no. This was an artist's studio. Every single letter, every little drawing had to be copied by hand by a professional scribe. The results? Absolutely gorgeous for sure, but also incredibly slow and unbelievably expensive.
So yeah, to really get why the printing press was such a massive deal, you have to understand the world before it. This was a world where ideas literally moved at the speed of a human hand.
And this created a huge problem, right? A total bottleneck. On one side, you've got these beautiful but super fragile manuscripts that take months or even years to make one copy of. And on the other side, you've got this explosion of universities and a growing middle class who are starving for knowledge. The old system was broken. It was about to snap.
Now, you might think this story starts in Europe with a guy named Gutenberg, right? Well, actually, that's not the whole story. For the real first spark of this idea, we've got to go way further east.
Okay, so get this. Way back in the 6th century, that's almost 900 years before Gutenberg, China was already using woodblock printing. You'd carve a whole page on a block of wood, ink it up, and press it onto paper. Buddhist missionaries took this tech to Japan, and that's how we got the Diamond Sutra, the oldest dated printed book in the world. By the 1700s, this technology had created a huge print culture in big cities like Edo, which we now call Tokyo.
And here's what's so cool about this. It wasn't just for, stuffy religious texts. It actually created brand new art forms, like ukiyo-e. These were cheap, colorful prints of city life that everybody could afford. They even made their way to Europe and blew the minds of artists like Van Gogh. Think about that. For the first time ever, art wasn't just for the rich.
So word of this woodblock printing thing eventually makes its way to Europe. But there's a problem. It's just not fast enough. Europe was hungry, really hungry, for books. The stage was set for a total game changer.
And this is where our main character, Johann Gutenberg, walks on stage. And the crazy thing is, he wasn't a scholar, he wasn't a book guy at all. He was a goldsmith, a metalworker, which is a perfect example of how the biggest innovations happen when you mix ideas from totally different worlds.
So Gutenberg's big idea wasn't one single thing. His genius was being a master combiner. First, he looked at a wine press, the thing they used to crush grapes, and thought, I can adapt that. Second, and this is crucial, he used his metalworking skills to create little individual letters out of metal that could be used over and over again, movable type. And third, he put it all together. He created the whole system. That was the real magic.
And the process he came up with? It was just brilliant. You'd have a typesetter arrange all the little metal letters to spell out the words, lock them into a frame, slap on some ink, and then, bam, use that big screw to press the paper down hard. It was simple, it was repeatable, and it was incredibly powerful.
250. Just let that number sink in for a moment. That's how many pages a single press could churn out in 1 hour. Remember those scribes? One scribe might take months to copy a single book. Gutenberg's machine could now do that in a day. We're not talking about an upgrade here. We're talking about a whole new reality.
And the results? Whoa, they were insane. In just 50 years, basically a single lifetime, Europe went from having a few thousand manuscripts to having 20 million printed books. 100 years after that, 200 million. This is what a revolution looks like in real time.
So what do you think happens when you suddenly make information cheap, fast, and available to almost everyone? Well, the world gets turned completely upside down. You get chaos, you get revolution. Because now ideas could go viral. Case in point, Martin Luther. He totally got it. He saw the press and thought, this is it. This is my weapon. When he wrote his famous 95 Theses challenging the Catholic Church, printers copied it and spread it everywhere. His idea shot across Germany in weeks. It was the 16th century version of a tweet going viral, and it literally helped spark the Protestant Reformation. But of course, not everyone was cheering. You had these two totally opposite reactions. For some people, the press was a gift from God, literally descending from heaven. For others, though, it was the end of the world. They saw the printer shop as a place of death and chaos. For the powers that be, this machine was a monster. It was terrifying.
And why were they so scared? Well, their fear was that if anyone could print anything, then all hell would break loose. Rebellious, dangerous ideas would spread like wildfire. And you know what? They weren't wrong. The church created a whole list of banned books, and it wasn't an empty threat. There's this incredible story of an Italian miller named Minocchio. He read the few books he could get his hands on, came up with his own ideas about the Bible, and the church had him executed for it. It's a chilling reminder. Having a voice could get you killed.
Okay, so this whole revolution wasn't just a European thing. The printing press was a traveler. So let's jump across the world and see what happened when this technology landed in a place like India.
So it starts with Portuguese missionaries bringing the technology over. But pretty soon, Indians took the press and ran with it. Suddenly, newspapers and pamphlets were everywhere, sparking huge public arguments about major social issues, all in local languages. For the very first time, people in different parts of this massive subcontinent could feel connected, like they were part of the same conversation.
And I just love this quote because it brings it all down to a really human level. It wasn't just about big political debates. For so many people, especially women whose lives might have been very restricted, a book was a window to another world. It was a source of ideas, escape, and just pure happiness.
But just like back in Europe, big changes brought big fears. This picture says it all, doesn't it? The artist is showing a world completely flipped on its head. The man is doing the woman's work of playing music, and the woman is doing the man's thing of smoking. It tapped into this deep, real anxiety that if you let people, especially women, read and get new ideas, the whole social order would just collapse.
So you might think the story kind of wraps up there, but it doesn't. Not even close. Because that basic idea behind the print revolution, to make information faster, cheaper, and available to everyone, that never, ever stopped.
I mean, just think about the leaps forward. You go from Gutenberg's press to steam-powered machines cranking out 8,000 sheets an hour. Then you get color printing. And then the humble paperback book, a genius idea that put books into the hands of millions during the Great Depression. Each step is just another chapter in the same story.
So when you boil it all down, the printing press didn't just give us books. It gave us the modern world. The Reformation, the scientific revolution, democracy itself. You can draw a direct line from all of it back to Gutenberg's workshop. It totally rewired our brains. And that brings us right back to today. And one last big question. We're living in our own information revolution right now, with the internet and AI. So what kind of world is our revolution building?